How are you doing on your quarterly one goals? In this episode, we're diving into resetting ourselves, really looking at now that we're already almost through Q1, which is crazy. We blinked and it's here. We're talking about how can you make sure you sit down, you're intentional by taking the time to see, are you still tracking on the things that you wanted to achieve in Q1 and also for the bigger year? So I'm sharing with you in this episode some things to think about for reassessing your vision for the year. Does it still feel aligned for you and where you want to go? And some things that I do to help set us up for success as we reflect on quarter one and as we get ready to go into quarter two. All right, today we're going to be talking about your Q1 goals. Believe it or not, we are already almost through Q1, which is so crazy. It's like we blinked and it was here and gone. So today I really want to help you anchor back into what were those goals that you set for yourself coming into the first quarter of the year. How have you been doing with those? Reassess what do you need to adjust, pivot, focus on in these last few weeks of the quarter, as well as how are these helping you towards your annual goals that you have set for the year. So if you haven't even done this process yet, go back and scroll back through some of my previous episodes. When we kicked off the new year, I went through my process of what I do and what we do as a team to help us really plan for the year, including what are those big goals that we want to achieve throughout the year, breaking those down into quarterly goals. So for you, it might be metrics like revenue numbers, clients, business, maybe certain work projects you had. Maybe you also identified personal goals that you wanted to fit in there. And what I don't want to have happen is all of a sudden the year starts to come to a close and you reassess your year and you go, what happened this year? What did I do? That's why it's so important to not only get clear on those things, but also make sure you're consistently revisiting those. So I've been doing this for myself, so I just wanted to walk through you what has been going through my brain as we're getting ready to end the quarter. So one of the things that we do now as a team is we do set up quarterly meetings. We try and allocate really a whole day where me and my assistant are sitting down and we're looking at a few key things. First of all, we're looking at what goals have we identified for the whole year, and also how are we doing towards those? Are we making the main things the main things? I shared that one of my main focuses in the business this year was really honing in, simplifying, and going towards the things that we know work, focusing on implementation and some of those bigger initiatives. And so as a result of that, we've been making some tough decisions of things like what are we no longer going to be doing this year? What do we need to maybe, I felt kind of like swat away shiny object syndrome, release, let go of, or just say, hey, we're going to set this to the side for now, because I can get that shiny object syndrome of like, oh, there's so many things, so many ideas that I want to do, but really coming back into like, what was the core that we wanted to do this year? So that's one thing that we'll be talking about in our meeting is, how are we tracking in terms of our big goals for the year? Are we staying committed to the things that we said we really wanted to? We always pick a word of the year. And so one of the things is revisiting and going, how am I actually living into and exemplifying that word throughout the whole year? That's how you really make sure it doesn't just be a random word that you pick, but something that you're actually making as part of your strategy, an intention you're setting throughout the year. And then we look at now what goals did we have quarterly. So again, you might have a variety of different goals, personal goals, professional goals, and how are you doing on those things? So one of the things I like to do is pull back out. I've shared this before if you're watching the video, or I have an example. If you're just listening to the audio, one of the ways that we use a few different tools for mapping out our plan for the quarterly and for the year. One of the paper versions I love is my day designer. This I have with me everywhere, but this is my planning calendar. And what I love about it is at the beginning of the year, it allows me to start with the big picture. So I actually write out my whole vision for the year. And then it actually allows you to set your goals, and it breaks it down into personal goals, family goals, financial goals, work career goals. And then it has things that you can design your days. And then obviously, it's got full calendar pages and things like that. But so I like to go back now, revisiting the quarter, and go back to my big picture. I haven't read this in a while. So this is for me, since we get, day-to-day stuff, we don't think to go back to it. When it's that quarterly checkpoint, it's a good time for me to go, ooh, it's really good for me to go revisit this now. So that's one thing I'll be doing, is going back and revisiting this vision for the year and asking myself a few questions. First of all, is this still aligned? Because what we don't want to do is to set it and forget it. and life might have changed. Your priorities might have changed. Maybe you've had a change in your business. Maybe you've had a change in your career path, in your position, in your personal life. So maybe you need to go back and reset this, because sometimes what happens is people get to the end of the year and they feel like a failure because they never went back and revisited their vision, their plan for the year to the version that they turned into throughout the year, or who they are now and who they decided they wanted to become. And so then they were registering, like, oh, I feel like a failure because I didn't do those things. Well, was it that, or was that your definition of success needed to change because of something that happened? So that's one thing that this can really help you with. So I go back and revisit and go, does this vision that I have for myself and my personal life and my professional life this year still fit? Does it still feel right for me in this season of life and where I want to go? And then I really start to reflect on, am I living into the things that I said I wanted to focus on this year, personally and professionally, my top priorities that I had? And I think it's really important to look at both sides of this from a personal and a professional standpoint. And then I kind of track and go, some of the things are metrics, like, are we hitting our metrics in terms of, from a business side, we look at revenue numbers overall for the quarter that we set. Are we hitting our outreach numbers that we wanted to? Are we hitting things like, speaking events that we want to do, how many clients we're getting? So those metrics things. Also, are we focused on the things we said we wanted to focus on? And then from a personal side, how am I doing? For me, some of the things I set is how many books I want to read throughout the year, not professional development. I love professional development. I'm always reading those, but I also set a goal for, like, what are the fun books that I want to be reading? By the way, if you have any great book recommendations, please send those to me, because I'm always looking for them, either professional development books that you have or personal books that you have. Please send me a message. Let me know what you're reading, because I'm always reading something. So I would love your recommendations. So I set personal goals, health goals that I have, even goals with, like, how many, one thing my husband and I have started trying to do is making sure that we're taking monthly dates. Like, we would love to have more than that. And sometimes what our dates look like is a breakfast date. Like, maybe we can't get out for a dinner, but we might block we've started blocking one Wednesday a month where we go and grab some coffee. We might be talking about work stuff. We might be talking about life stuff, but we at least know it's on the calendar. Really funny story about that is because sometimes I get just so head down on things. My husband actually worked with our assistant to schedule that. He's like, I'm going to talk to your assistant, and she got that on the calendar. But hey, you do what you got to do. So am I doing that? I also have, wanting to take dates with my son and have certain things. I have goals for little getaways, or when I want to hang out with friends. So really reassessing. And even as I look right now, I'm like, ooh, I can kind of call my own feet to the fire here of some of the things that I'm like, I would like to refocus on and reprioritize going into Q2. So that's part of the process that I do, is look at it from a big picture standpoint. Am I on the track for where I wanted to go for the year? Does it still feel aligned for me, who I am now, where I want to go? Am I leaning into those priorities? Are we hitting our metrics? Now, what do we want to some people use the stop, start, continue method. So you could do this. We were like, hey, what do we want to stop doing now going into the new quarter? What do we want to start doing that we haven't been doing? What do we want to continue? You could do something like that. I use a modified version of that, where I'm just thinking what do I want to, what's been working? What do I want to continue? Maybe what do I want to not be doing anymore? What do I want to refocus on going into the next quarter? And also, how do I want to feel? Right? So it's really important to think about, how do I want to feel in this next quarter? And I believe, just like the changing seasons, when we're coming out of, I don't know if those of you who live in the Midwest like me, those of you who are listening who live in warmer weather year round don't have this, but for us, we're getting a warm up here now. And so I actually feel myself getting re-energized, getting more creativity, and just the changing of seasons, where we have winter and we kind of feel like hibernating and just reflecting and drinking something warm and cozy. Now it's the sun's coming out, we want to be outside. It's spring. It feels like a great time to just re-energize and get excited for all the things for the year. So this is my challenge for you, is to really sit down, take the time. Don't just write this off as oh, I don't have time to do that, because you don't have time to not do this. If you had goals that you wanted to achieve this year, personally and professionally, it's so important to sit down and reassess. And maybe for you, you're doing it monthly, and that's awesome. I recommend that too, but quarterly can just be a really good reminder for us of the point of like, ooh, am I tracking with what I said I want to focus on? Hopefully this quick episode on kind of realigning yourself to your goals for 2025 is helpful for you. Please, like I said, if you have any book recommendations for me, also share with me if you have any ways that you love to sit down and reassess your quarterly goals, or if you loved some of the tips that I share, go ahead and let me know. Share this out with those you think this might be helpful for, and have fun.